So here we go. This is your preview for the big one. It's Fulham versus Nottingham Forest. Let's get into it. Good morning, good evening, or good night, wherever in the world you are. Hope you're well, and welcome to your preview for Fulham versus Nottingham Forest. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I don't know if anyone heard the Gary Neville podcast this week, the way he was talking about how he's feeling about watching Man U at the moment. And I kind of could agree with a lot of what he said and reflect that back into Nottingham Forest, because it just feels lackluster at the moment to even get yourself excited about games. Now, obviously, come game day, you're like, and you start to get those butterflies in the stomach and everything. But build-ups these last week or so just haven't felt the same for me. It just feels like we already know what we're going to get. And hopefully Forest can surprise us on Wednesday and pull a rabbit out the arse, as Ez said the other night. Because on paper, Fulham are going to beat Nottingham Forest. Fulham should beat Nottingham Forest. Forest's away record is still atrocious. 2 wins in 26, I think it is, away from home. 1 win a season. We already took our quota for this year early against Chelsea. But this is Forest. And as Forest can always do a Forest when you expect them to win, to lose, they can also do a Forest when you expect them to lose and then they win. So maybe that's our best chance of winning, is Forest doing a Forest. But let's get into it. Or if you're enjoying the content, please don't forget to hit the like button. Subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new. And let's start with the Forest team, because this is going to be a tough, important one for Cooper. Okay, so this is the team that started last weekend against Everton, and Forest were in a 4-3-3 formation. Tafalo, Murillo, Bolly, Aurier at the back, Yates, Mangala, Sangare, MGW, Wood, and Alanga, with Vlachodimos in goal. Now, as much as I don't mind the 4-3-3, he's got to change something. 1 win in 10, or whatever it is now, could turn into 1 win in 12 by Sunday. And if you just keep repeating the same thing, nothing's going to change. Definition of madness, as they always say. Keep doing the same thing over, insanity even. I'm really struggling with my words. Do the same thing over and over again. There has been too much tinkering with the team, though, would be the counter argument to it. And I do agree on it. I don't think Cooper has the foggiest idea what his best 11 is. He keeps switching in defenders in and out from the back. The midfield still gets tweaked, even though probably the best combo has been Mangala, Sangare, and Dominguez. And then up front, I mean, he's limited to what he can do. So he has to almost pick that. And that's probably been the most consistent out of the 3 departments. But change is needed. And we will get to understand Cooper's mindset quite heavily on Wednesday, depending on what he does. Because he could quite easily revert to his comfort zone, which I thought he may have done against Everton. But that was at home. This is now away, where his track record is even worse. He may go to a back 5. And it won't be a back 3. It will be a back 5. I think in the back of Cooper's mind, he may look back to the second half of last year, to that time where Forest kind of put the anchor down, bunkered down, and got those results. Or maybe even against Brighton away from home. It kind of feels like we're in a similar situation to that game then. So, what is Cooper going to do? I don't know, is the honest answer. So let's try and run through these scenarios and see what we might see. And again, I think this will be Cooper in panic mode, job protection mode if he does this. We could probably say Tafalo, and Aurier's definitely getting dropped. Montiel, by the way, looks like he's going back, so he hasn't settled in, or he's not in Cooper's plan. I think you'll probably see Einar come back in. You could see the back 3 of Bolly on the right, Murillo on the left, and then Niakate come in, or maybe even Bolly down and Felipe comes in. Could happen. But that probably would be the combo of the three that if I had a gun to my head and had to pick a back three, that for me was probably our strongest back three. Bolly's good, but I think Bolly's been really good as well this season. But he's not really a ball progressor from the back, whereas Niakate can and Felipe, you just got to put him in for his looks. Now, if he's going to do that, he's going to have to drop someone in an attacking position. And it may be Elanga. I'm almost reverting back to what he did towards the end of the last season. I think Yates is definitely coming out. And you're probably going to see Dominguez back in because there has been a bit of an outcry for it. So if Cooper's going to chuck the anchor down, go back to type, revert back to type, I think this is the formation or the lineup that we might see. And then he'll look to bring the likes of Callum Hudson-Odoi and Elanga on. So what would you call this? A 5-3-1-1? Dominguez, Mangala, Sangare across the middle, MG Dub in the hole, and then, oh my God, Chris Wood. I would expect or demand that Chris Wood needs to be dropped. In fact, you know what? I would go a step further. If the gun was still pointed to my head, I would take off Wood. I'd just chuck Elanga up front. I would just do that. That to me, if you're going to be negative and defensive, you need some pace on the counter-attack because there's no point trying to throw down the anchor, low block your way into some form of a result and not be able to counter-attack with pace. And if you've got Wood there, you may as well play with 10 men. Honestly, it's just pointless. So I think that's probably in the back of Cooper's mind to play something like this. A back five, three across the middle, MG Dub back in the middle, and then Elanga as a false nine. Does that fill you with confidence? I don't know. Let's move on to what I think he should do. So for me, if I was in Cooper's position and my back was against the wall and you know the pressure is building, he is red hot favourites along with Ten Hag with the bookies to be the next manager sacked. I think at like 2 or 3 to 1, both of them. You've got to at least show some fight. I think the performance is partly as responsible as the result on Wednesday. Like if Forest go to Fulham and just roll over, get their bellies tickled and take a loss, even if it's 1-0, what was the point? But if Forest go there, show some fight, show some patterns of play, show some identity, and maybe lose 3-2, I'll still be annoyed, but at least it's better than just waiting for the inevitable to happen. Against a Fulham team who are clearly going through second season syndrome, and they're not Mitrovic FC anymore. They're almost Paulino FC. That's literally where Fulham are. Yes, they had a good turnout against Liverpool, but they still lost. So for me, I would actually personally, if my back was against the wall, I'd go more attacking. And what I would do, I don't mind which of the three you pick from the centre backs. I think Murillo has to play depending on what his knock is like. So maybe I'd go Felipe and Murillo just because they're Brazilian. I love Niakate. I wouldn't mind him in at all. And I'd just go for the flat back four. Now, what I would then do is, I think Mangala's been brilliant, but I want to play a double pivot. And what I'd do, I'd get rid of Mangala. I'd also drop Dominguez. Hear me out here. And I'd bring Danilo in. Because between Sangare and Danilo, they can play the double pivot, the 6 and the 8. And I think it's a bit more attacking and it's really physical in there. I would chuck Elanga probably out on the right-hand side. Morgan Gibbs-White in the hole. And then I'd bring Callum Hudson-Odoi on the left just to really attack that Fulham right back. And then up front, Then up front, probably Origi. Or play with 10 men. I don't know. But I just feel that Danilo and Sangare could form a good partnership. I like Dominguez. I like Mangala. Mangala probably argument for player of the year so far. But he doesn't offer enough going forward for me in a game where Forest need to get, in my opinion, 3 points in this one. So that's probably the team I would go with. And the other thing you could do, I've seen some people float it around, is like, okay, Let's go like this. Let's put Murillo in midfield, Niakate and Felipe as the back two, and then go attacking. Or maybe even you drop one of the attackers, have Murillo as the out-and-out CDM. You could go diamond with this. I wouldn't be against it, I'll be honest with you. You could do something like, let's have a look here. You could go with Dominguez here on the left-hand side, Sangare on the right, Murillo in the middle, and then go Origi and Alanga up front and go for a diamond 4-4-2. Because you know Murillo's going to progress that ball forward. Niakate and Felipe were really good together last season. That's not bad either. He's got options is what I'm trying to tell you. He doesn't need to revert to type. He could go attacking. I know it's a little out there putting Murillo up front, but he's our best player, I think, in defense and midfield and up front currently. So maybe try him further up the pitch. Would anyone put him up front? This is going to be a weird game this Wednesday. It really is. But let me know your thoughts on what you would do with the Forest team. All right, so let's have a quick look at the Fulham team. And honestly, it's kind of Raggy Dolls FC. A bit of a mishmash of has-beens and could-have-beens from the Premier League. I mean, I got to start with Jimenez. For me, he is one of the worst strikers in the Premier League. Only in front, should I say, of the likes of Wellcrap and Mopé. That stupid pirate thingy that he wears on his head, he just doesn't do it for me as a striker. He's completely lost his confidence since that injury happened, and I was shocked when Fulham bought him. They got Vinicius, the ex-Spurs crapper as well, on the bench, so maybe he will start. But their standout player is, of course, Paulina, who nearly went to Bayern Munich and then in the last second transfer time ran out while he was out there in Germany. Didn't look silly at all, did he? Their defense, I think, is quite solid. I think Leno is a really good keeper. I'll be honest with you guys. I think he was a snap up for them. I think they paid about 8 to 12 mil for him. He's been really solid for them. I just think the rest is just raggy dolls. It really is. Iwobi, Wilson, Pereira. Man U fans used to call him preseason Pereira for a reason. All of these players are has-beens or wannabes. But the problem is they've got Silva, who I think is one of the best managers in the league. He really is good at understanding philosophies of football. He gets his team pressing. He knows where the strengths are. He knows where the weaknesses are. And he plays to the strengths and avoids the weaknesses. And Fulham have been that team who this season, I would say, have won the games they were meant to win and lost the games they were meant to lose. They're 3 from 6 at home. Not the greatest home record, but the teams they've lost to are the teams you would have expected them to lose to. And all these raggy dolls put together do form a bit of a cohesive team. But are they strong enough? Do they want it enough? Or will Forest want it more? That is the question. Don't forget, will.i.am is on the bench as well. Well, he was in the last game. He could start this game. He scored a bit of a decent goal against us last time we went to Fulham. And let's not forget the double sympathy pains that we got last year when both McKenna and I think it was Bolly both got injured at the same time within the first 5 minutes of the game. I don't like playing at Craven Cottage. The best memory we've got of it in recent times is when Zinc scored that key goal where we were still fighting for the top 2. And Cooper got the assist, if I remember rightly, from the throw-in. But outside of that, it really is, it's going to be a tough game. I just can't quite get myself confident for it. What do you guys think of this Fulham team? Do you rate it, or do you think there are gaps that we can expose? So how do I feel this game will go? Well, it's going to go one of 3 ways, obviously, a win, a loss, or a draw. But I think with the pressure mounting on Cooper, it will change the way we approach this game. I think it will be more defensive, I hate to say. In Cooper's mind, I think he will say, let's get to halftime 0-0. If we can get to halftime 0-0, then anything can happen in the second half. Let's not go behind early. Those first 20 to 25 minutes are going to be really, really key for Steve Cooper. Because if this team of ours goes behind, then I think you can see the heads dropping. The other question that has been bandied around this week is whether or not the players are playing for Cooper anymore. I don't think he's lost the dressing room, But I don't either think that he's got the respect of some of the bigger name players either. And I don't think they like the style of football that he's forcing upon them. It's too negative. It's way too negative. So we will get these answers. These next 4 days for Forest are going to answer a lot of questions for us. And it makes my stomach turn over to think about it. If Cooper loses this game, the writing is really on the wall for him. And if he even makes it to Wolves after that, then God only knows what the pressure is going to be like at Molineux. But let's take it one game at a time. My head says Forest lose this one. Probably 2-0 to be honest. But my heart says Forest could do a Forest. And Forest could sneak some weird 1-0. Maybe Fulham get a man sent off. Maybe Forest get a VAR decision finally go for them. Something like that could happen. Maybe it goes in of the arse of Robinson or something. I don't care. We just need the points right now. But I think it's going to be... I can't even bring myself to say it. I'm going to sit on the fence. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. But you all know what my head's thinking. But I can't say it out loud. Get your score predictions in, guys. I'm sorry it's a little depressing, but I can only judge what we've seen on the pitch. Make sure you like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new. We'll see you tonight at 7:30 for a live Gore preview of the game. And until then, come on you Reds. Oh yeah, get your Predictor League predictions in as well because of the midweek games. Peace.